tonight's topic, if you guys didn't already know, is mastering your inner dialogue. And this one is, I think it's a big one because we've talked about it before that, as humans, we're naturally prone to have more negative thoughts than positive ones. And it's very easy to not even realize what our inner dialogue sounds like unless you're consciously thinking, hey, I should pay attention to what I'm saying. I know there was a point in time where I was very quick, like if I'm not used to doing something, I just automatically say, oh, I'm not good at that. Or I don't know, like I can't do that. And Ray, my husband, he's the one that was like, oh, like that's a limiting belief. You shouldn't say that. And now I still say those things like I'm like, oh, I can't do that. But then I catch myself and I rephrase how like, oh, I don't know how to do that yet, but I can learn how to do it. Or I can, I can figure that out. Not yet. I think yet is a really big word that's good to incorporate into things to kind of get us to recognize that like we as humans can learn anything. I think there's like a myth of, oh, you get to a certain age and you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but that's literally
Hmm.
not true with our brains. Like our brains are incredible.
I agree. Have you guys heard of Robin Sharma?
Yes. He's the
Love
5 a.m. club.
him. Yeah. And I've never read the 5 a.m. Club because I was like, fuck that. Not interested. I shall not, will not, no interest in being up at 5 a.m. And so I was like, he's one of those like bro, raw, raw, raw guys, like no interest. And then someone that I follow recommended this book called I can't remember and something about like the wealth that
The monk.
money.
Mm,
No, he has. I haven't read that one yet.
Aaron
that's a
took me
good
off
one.
that.
It's the wealth money can't buy.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I've been listening. It's like 7 hours, and so I've been listening to it every day that I walk.
Is that on
And
Spotify?
I don't know. I have it on Audible, but I'll look to
Okay.
see if it's on Spotify. And one of the things that he says in there, and I'm 90% sure it's him that says it. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah. The wealth money can't buy. It's so good. And it goes through the 8 types of wealth and, their physical wealth, emotional wealth, spiritual wealth, all of that stuff. So, like service, I love this. The eighth chapter is service, and I love that one. But, anyways, one of the things that he says is we are infinite beings. And so we have, yeah, see the whole breakdown. I love it.
Oh, wow.
It's so good. Like I think I'm gonna buy the paper copy because I love the Audible so much that I
Mm,
want to be able to like highlight stuff. But one of the things that he says is like we have infinite potential. You can do anything you want. Our minds can constantly be learning no matter how old you get, but we do have a finite amount of time, right? Like that's not infinite. And so wasting time doubting ourselves and wasting time telling ourselves the things that we can't do, if you took that time and invested it instead on learning whatever it is that you're claiming you can't do, or all the things that you just like worry about, if you took that time and invested it instead in getting better at something or listening to books like The Wealth Money Can't Buy and just elevating your spirit, you'd get so much further. And so that was like a big turning point that I was like, I gotta remember that because
mm.
there's so much time that we spend in our heads, saying horrible things to each other or doubting the things that we're capable of. And if you take that same amount of time and you're able to catch it, like Jackie said, step number one is having the awareness. If you can catch yourself and turn it around quicker each time, then that's so much time that you're gaining back to grow instead of wasting it.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize too that like your thoughts literally shape your reality.
Hmm.
Knowing that, we should take the time to learn how to make them work for us, not against us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you guys talk shit to each other in your heads about yourselves. Stop lying. I know. Look at Daniel. He's like, I do. I, I know you do.
That's funny. But yeah, I think spotting the like negative self-talk, that's the first step. And I don't really know, unless obviously like right now we're talking about it. So maybe as the rest of your week goes on, you'll be able to catch things as you think them. But I mean, like I clearly remember Ray having to point things out to me for me because I just wasn't in the mind space to do it for myself. And so it's kind of scary. Like if you're not really thinking about it, what are you really telling yourself or what are you creating as your reality based off of
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying or thinking?
Right. Even like I know he was joking, but when Danny was like something about being a fat ass or whatever, I was like, stop. That's not helpful. Like that's not helpful. You're just psychologically telling yourself, that you're
And it's not true. Like I think it's
exactly.
like Aaron, for example, right? If he's like, oh, fellow fat ass to fellow fat ass, like you might see yourself like that because you were that at some point, but that's no longer who you are. So you have to be careful of how you
Mm-hmm.
address yourself. Oh, I love Alexa in the chat.
Right.
Oh.
Present. She's present. Yeah, I had a friend who just kept calling himself a piece of shit. And
Mm.
he's like, I'm just a piece of shit. Like, I'm over here just, living a piece of shit life or whatever. And I just thought, like, you're always gonna be a piece of shit if you don't stop calling yourself a piece of shit, you know? And he wasn't. He just had, like, stupid, dumb habits that weren't helpful. He was a decent human being who just had bad habits. And I just thought, like, you're never gonna rise above that if that's what you're constantly telling yourself. And if that's what you're saying out loud, I'm a little concerned for what you say in your head, you know? So,
Hmm. Yeah, and Alexa says I always hear it when other people do it though. And I feel like that too.
hmm.
It's easy to hear it from
Yeah.
somebody else. You're like, dang, that's kind of negative. You shouldn't say that. But to yourself, it's like, oh, that's just, or for example, I grew up with a family that was very like, that's just the way they joked around, like being very
Mm,
harsh. Like that's our sense of humor. And so talking to myself, I'm sure it stems from that too. Like it's just like, oh, it's no big deal. I mean, now it's different. Yeah, I'm able to recognize it, but I think I let it go on for so long, unrecognized, because that was like the norm.
right.
But so I did cheat a little bit and I asked ChatGPT about this topic. And I liked,
That's my homie right there.
oh my gosh, I liked one of the things it was telling me was, okay, so if you're recognizing the negative thoughts, the next step is how do you shift them to empowering thoughts? And
Mm-hmm.
so this reframing technique is like the 3 C's method. So you catch the negative thought, you challenge its validity. So is it true? What evidence supports this or what contradicts it? And then you change it to something empowering. So yeah, useful tips for positive self-talk, using affirmations but making them believable. So I'm learning and growing every day versus I'm perfect. Like obviously you're not going to
Mm-hmm.
have, or even just, Hal Elrod. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but he wrote The
Mm-hmm.
Miracle Morning. And he talks about how affirmations are very tricky because a lot of people will tell other people, like, oh, you just have to say these things and it'll all be good. Like, say that I'm, like a wealthy being, which you can say that, but you should put a little bit more clarity as to, like, I am a wealthy being because I, help people sell homes or whatever the case may be, like, whatever you do making it make sense because your brain knows when you're lying to yourself. And obviously,
Totally.
like people have said too, like you can lie to yourself to a point where you believe yourself. And maybe, I don't know, we can get into the science of how healthy that is. But
Fake
I
it till
think,
you make it.
yeah, and I think there's I don't know if balance is the right word, but like there is some validity
A
behind
healthy
that.
level of delusion,
Yes, yes.
right?
And it's
And I
definitely a fine line.
and I think it's especially if you speak on like potential, right? Like I have the potential to be a
Mm,
wealthy being. I
yes.
am, on the journey to be a wealthy being or whatever it is that makes it more believable to yourself because like you said our minds are smart. And if you're just like I'm a millionaire, your mind's like, "Bitch, I saw your bank account and no you're not."
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, just making sure that you're putting it in a context that is believable.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
it's
like it. Chat
crazy.
came through.
Oh yeah, yeah, I like that one. I think it's important too. I don't know if you did this on purpose, Monica, but our next week topic is the mental diet makeover. So feeding your mind for success. So I feel like that really goes hand in hand with
Yeah.
this week because we're talking about the concept of how we talk to ourselves matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just saw this video because I was editing it to post it from a previous call. But when Daniel was talking about how growing up, he talked to himself a lot and the importance of reflecting on your day. And there's so many thoughts that go through our head that if we're not having a conversation with ourselves, it's really easy for things to seep through our fingers and not really take things as they are to apply them moving forward. So, yeah, it's good that we're kind of setting the foundation for that next week to be able to be like, okay, off the basis, how you talk to yourself matters. It's important to, if you have negative thoughts that are already coming to your mind of like, I do know I say this to myself or about myself a lot, figure out how to kind of switch that and change it into an empowering statement instead.
Yeah, I definitely did do that on purpose because I wanted this call to be more like catching things and not necessarily like, I don't, no judgment, like what's that new thing going on? We listen, we don't judge. I'm gonna use that somehow. But
Funny.
yeah, you want to listen to what you're saying to yourself and not judge yourself for it, but do catch it and pay attention to the things that you notice you say a lot.
Mhm.
Because once you do, you're gonna be like, kind of fucked up. Like if that was my friend, I wouldn't want them to talk to me like that, I wouldn't keep being friends with that person. And so being aware is, I think, the baseline of making sure that you stay aware of the way that you talk to yourself. And even if the first way you do that is being aware of how other people talk about themselves, like that might be your intro to the whole thing, is catching other people talking to themselves in a way that's just not constructive or because I don't think being overly positive is always the best thing because then you're just lying about how great you are or dismissing the need for growth. Striving for growth is something to celebrate. So even if you're not amazing at whatever it is, even if you suck at something or you fall on a goal that you're trying to get to, you can just say I am a resilient being and tomorrow I'm going to do better. Like you're not a piece of crap because you didn't XYZ. You're a resilient being who is determined to see the goal through. And so tomorrow you're going to do better. Yeah. And so just catching yourself. And then next week, obviously, we're going to talk more about replacing unhealthy or filler stuff that goes into your mind and replacing with things that will help you grow and feed your soul, feed your growth.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important too to like start small, right? Small steps and celebrating the small wins. If you're making more deposits into your, what do they call it? Like your confidence bank, because you're telling
Mm-hmm.
yourself, let's say, for example, like your goal is to wake up early every day this week. And you do it the first couple of days and you're like, oh, like excited that you did it, but then you missed one day. And that's why I think it's important to track things over time. I'll give you guys an
Mm-hmm.
example. So, in my bullet journal for this year, in the back, I created a habit tracker section, and there's
Yeah.
11 habits that I'm tracking for the whole entire year, which sounds like a
Okay.
lot, but I knew, like, I'm like, okay, these are the things that I want to implement into my routine. I have no expectation for doing all of these things every day all at once, but I'm going to track and see, how well I'm doing with it. And it's interesting, like certain things I've been more consistent. We're on day 14 of the new year, and some of them like I've only missed 2 or 3 days versus one of them I haven't even done once. And like, but at first when I hadn't gone to my journal for a little bit and I was like, man, I feel kind of bad because I haven't done this in a while. But then I looked at it as a whole and I was like, oh, I got 50% at least. Like that's still pretty good. And even just
Mm-hmm.
like understanding that, okay, there's grace here because making changes, like we have to have grace for ourselves. Changing as humans, it's not our first instinct. Like we want to stay the same. And so just giving yourself that little bit of space, it's really good. Hyro, let me hear what you got to say, boy. I'm excited.
What's up, Jackie? I'm so happy to be here. I was meant to be here, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
I love the topic that you guys are pretty much talking about. So, like you're saying, keeping your habits, that's something I've been trying to do myself, that I've been doing myself, with the whole purpose of like change your programming, your inner programming. So, that whole thing that you guys were saying with the whole self-talking, how you talk to yourself and all that stuff. I like, like Daniel said, I always found me like talking to myself all the time. Not only that, in front of the mirror, I'll be like, somebody told me, hey, Hyra, you're a preacher. Because I would just like talk in front of the mirror to myself or whatever. I would just find it like a good, valuable thing. And I would try and share it with everybody that I could, you know what I
Damn, you got to record those.
mean? And so I know, right? And
He's
so,
prepping for his TED Talk.
I love how you were saying how like the self-talk, so once you're aware of that, the first thing is like, if you're talking to yourself like negatively, first off, like you guys said, bring it to a kind of level of awareness. And so then you start implementing these habits to kind of change that inner talk about yourself, because you got to change it. You really got to make it a habit. You really have to be intentional about it, because you are already wired that way. So it's intentional. It's got to be repetition and consistency every day to be able to change that. And because this is one thing somebody said, and I was like, it's like you cannot act consistently to something that is different to what you are consistent to, what your wiring is consistent to. And so for you to act inconsistent to that, it takes a lot of intention until it becomes a habit, until it becomes like a programming pretty much. And so, that changes your inner self. And then, changing all these things about yourself in the inside starts producing different things on the outside. And so that's, when I was looking to like, how did I change things about myself? How do I change the results about myself? Stuff like that, right? So first thing, I started just being like, just kind of noting down things that I was like, what is it that I do, quote unquote, negatively, or something that maybe not negatively, but just doesn't move the needle for my goal. All these things started coming down. And so I just started like trying to work on changing a few things. And so, I mean, I haven't changed a whole lot. Like Jackie said, I made a list. And so I just kind of was like tackling as much as I can through it. And I mean, the few things that I have changed just make me feel a whole lot better nowadays. So I just feel, I feel the improvement. So imagine if I just start tackling everything, that would be amazing. That was just my
That's
2 cents.
awesome.
I really like that you spoke about it objectively. Like, these are the things that I'm doing that aren't moving the needle forward. It wasn't like, these are the ways I'm fucking up, or these are the ways that I'm like making a mistake, or these are the ways that I'm not good at whatever. Like, it wasn't a negative. It was just an objective, like, these are the things that I'm doing that aren't moving the needle forward towards the goals that I want. And I like that a lot, because I don't want all of us to start thinking about the things that we say that aren't kind to ourselves, or the things that we say that are doubtful, and just start being mean to ourselves about it. Like, don't turn it into a bashing session when you catch yourself. Catch yourself and recognize, as humans, we're wired for negativity. That's just what it is. Unfortunately, there's something called negative bias. So we are much quicker to notice the negative things than we are to notice the positive things. And it's all reprogramming. So all of that stuff that you catch about yourself that you do regularly, you've been doing for years. To catch it is already an interruption to the program, because your body and your mind is very happy for you to keep going unnoticed. Like, unconscious thoughts make it so happy. Just keep going status quo. So just
And that's step
catching it,
one,
and
catch it. Yeah.
you're already making a huge step. And so, being kind to yourself when you do catch it, and just saying like, hey, we don't need any more of that. Maybe we reframe it, like Jackie was saying, and being able to, what's the third C?
Go back.
Change.
I'd change it. Yeah. There you go,
Change.
Liz.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I listen.
Somebody was paying attention. I'm like, what is the third
You'll
C?
try.
Yeah.
No, I love the conversation. I actually, again, like, I think I'm very fortunate to work at Keller Williams, just because so much of this conversation happens regularly, because it's not so much just about benefiting you as a business owner and your business, it's about benefiting you as a person. So there's so much personal growth and development that happens just inside of our office, which is really unique. And some of the stuff that I've heard throughout the years that stuck with me in regards to reframing is, yes, you can reframe the structure of what you're saying, and you can put like a yet on the end of it, and you can change the way that you're phrasing things. Another thing that came out though was, I've noticed, because somebody came to me specifically about that conversation, but I've also noticed just in general, like, it's your vocabulary too. It's something that one of the agents in our office did for me when he heard how I was talking just out loud. And he said, here's something that I want you to focus on to, like, just attract more positive energy into your life, and to feel more successful and to feel happier. He was like, there's 3 words that you should never use, and they are try, but, and can't. And he said, and he wrote them on a sticky note, and he put them on my wall, and he said, these are the words that you're not supposed to say during the day. And he said, because if you say you're going to try to do something, you already know that means you're not going to do it. So it's not, I'm going to try, I'm going to do this. If you say, but instead of saying but, that's a negative connotation. You should be saying and. So
Right.
I haven't done that, and I'm gonna start tomorrow. And then can't obviously immediately makes you think that it's impossible. So that's another one. And then the other that has stuck out to me is when we're giving feedback, and because I've taken a presenting class and course on becoming a better presenter, when you're up at the front of the room and people are critiquing your presentation and saying, here's the things that we loved about it, and rather than looking at it as here's constructive criticism of where you can improve, it's phrased as these are your opportunities. So it's a
Mm.
growth opportunity, so that you don't look at it as, oh, this is where I'm falling short. It's a, this is where I can get better. This is where I have room to grow. So it's a really cool way to just retrain your brain, where maybe so much of the self-talk may still similarly like attack a certain thought, but just the vocabulary can manipulate the whole concept in terms of how you process it. And I told Jackie about this yesterday. There was in the sermon that I heard on Sunday, it was really cool. It was very similar to what you guys are saying with the awareness of what you say and just how we're negatively wired. It was when you feel, because people always feel tempted to complain. So it was, instead of moments where you feel tempted to complain, that's an opportunity to create. So that's your opportunity to say stop and then freeze, reframe it, and then look at it as an opportunity for growth, which I thought was just really cool. So
I love
different
that.
strategies to try and accomplish that in small ways to start when you catch yourself, for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love the
love that.
opportunity.
I love that Hyro's like comfortable with talking to himself in the mirror. And the last time I realized that we talked about this, I was like, oh, I hadn't ever tried that before, but that was something I was trying to incorporate with my affirmations.
Talking to yourself in
It's
the
un-
mirror.
yeah, like say them in the mirror looking at myself. It's uncomfortable.
Dude, I talk to myself in the mirror every day. Like I'm my only
What?
friend. What do you mean?
Well, that's good. I'm over here like, I don't want Ray to hear me. Like, I feel like this is weird.
I literally have told Noah, if you hear me talking and you know I'm not on the phone with somebody and you know we weren't already in conversation about that, like just let it go. Like that's just me.
Leave me
Like
alone.
you gotta let me,
Yeah.
I'm like an external, like out loud processor. You gotta let me do my thing. I literally was laughing with his mom because I was telling her, because her and I are very similar. And I was like, dude, sometimes I catch myself, like I will talk to myself like a full dialogue as though I'm two different people. It's wild. And it's,
Dang.
dude, it's not good. Like there's something not right.
No, I think it is good.
I
Sure.
agree.
I think, okay, I will say I think it is a product of partially being an only child, because I didn't have siblings to talk to, and like
Oh
I could talk,
man.
but like I could talk to my parents, great, but like you kind of were your own
I
company.
wasn't
And
allowed to talk to my parents. What do you mean?
oh no, my parents are like, Jackie can tell you, my parents are like overly close to me. So
Aw.
I love them for it. And like there's boundaries that probably should have existed that just don't. So
I love it.
but yeah, no, like I've always talked to myself, and I was laughing with her. I said sometimes I'm having like my full-on conversation with myself on the drive home, like I always do. And I was like, and I'll be at like a light, and I literally will pull up my phone so the person next to me thinks I'm talking to another
Oh,
person.
I do
So
that
then
all
I
the time.
don't, yeah, so I'm like, I
I
don't
do
look
that all the time.
insane. Dude,
Oh
Yeah.
my
I
God.
feel like
I do that
the
all the
way
time.
I
I'll take the phone just so it looks like I'm
yeah,
talking to
I'm like,
somebody.
please
Meanwhile,
don't
I'm
think
having
I'm
a full debate.
delusional. Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm having a fine time. Just
Me
imagine
too.
it's
Don't mind
valid.
me.
the way I
Just
make me feel normal about it is I think this is the way I think about it, because I always like bounce off ideas off of the mirror type of stuff. And then I always tell me, okay, this is because, I'm refining my thoughts, because, I'm like, the worst time that you have to say something is to think about what you have to say, is the moment that you have to say it. So you
Yeah.
kind of have,
it's true.
like, I'm just refining my ideas, and I'm just talking and talking and talking.
That's a way to
Dang.
put it. I like that. I'm gonna
I
use
think you guys are onto something with this well, I guess I feel like I was kind of an only child. My brother didn't come around till I was 10. So
Yeah, you had a while. And then he couldn't talk for a couple of years.
I don't remember talking to myself in the mirror. I wish I did.
Yeah.
I would talk to myself and
Do you
play
know?
with toys and stuff. Yeah. My boyfriend for the longest time thought I was just like really jumpy, because like if he would come to a room, I would like jump, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "You literally just caught me in a full conversation by myself." Like that's the reason I jumped, is because I was like, you just interrupted me. I was
Yeah, like I
having
was
and he's
mid-thought.
That's
I'm
funny.
full
I'm a-
conversation in my head.
I'm a pacer, so like I'll talk to myself and like walk in circles. And I can vividly remember as like an early teenager, I was doing that in my bedroom and having a conversation with myself. And my dad came up to the door, and like my parents, again, like no boundaries, right? Like we don't knock, you just walk in. And so my dad walks in the room as I'm like walking, and it scared me so bad because I am a jumpy person. And then I do this too. I literally like fight or flight kicked in, and I just hit the deck and I laid out flat like a board on my floor. And he's like, "What just happened?" And I was like, "I don't know, but you gotta go. Like I don't know. This is too much though." I was like, "Get out." Like
That's
That's
hilarious.
funny.
Danny unmuted himself, so you know he's got something to say.
I'm about to mute myself, but I'll say my piece after.
Dang.
Oh, that was too funny. So I'm not the only one that jumps when
No,
people catch
no.
me talking to myself.
Oh yeah, it's rough.
Man.
Turns out there's a group of us. Look at that.
Right? You feel less alone. This is what this the beauty of these calls.
So what were oh, go ahead, Daniel.
Oh, I was gonna say that no, honestly, Liz, when you're a pacer talking to yourself, I'm the same way, and I can't tell you how many times I have done so. Like when I'm at the house and I'm overthinking, like,
Mhm.
okay, I gotta get this done, I gotta do the laundry, I gotta
Mhm.
do the dishes. I didn't even know my mom's in the house, and she's like, "You good, baby?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're cool, we're cool."
Sorry.
Shit, I didn't know you were here, mom. Forgive me. She's like, "No, just making sure, like
Oh.
everything's okay."
You're
And then
not you didn't have a
sometimes
psychotic break.
oh yeah, no. And then sometimes my dad knocked on the door, and I did this a lot as a kid until I realized like how to keep a lower tone. I would just talk to myself while I'm in the shower, and then my dad's over here knocking while I'm in the shower. He goes, "Who are you on the phone with?" I'm like, "Nobody."
Hilarious.
That's so
And I'm over
funny.
here panicking to myself, going like, "I'm just talking to myself."
Right,
I was
like,
a
does that
kid.
make it
I
sound
was
better
I was
or
little.
worse?
Right, right.
Honestly, I think it would have been preferred if I was on the phone with somebody. Just
Mm.
because talking to yourself while you're in the shower, people are gonna be thinking like, "Oh, he's probably Dexter,"
Yeah, like that turned some
Right.
heads.
right?
Funny.
No, I
So
had full
funny.
therapy sessions with myself after my ex-boyfriend. I literally I talked myself through the entire thing. Like I figured it all out. I got it all ironed out. But it would be me cleaning, pacing, whatever it was, and all of a sudden I'd be like, that's exactly what I would have the whole thing like broken down. And I was like, see, what do I need therapy for?
Yeah.
Maybe the
Why
talking to
pay
yourself
somebody when
part.
I could do this for myself for free?
Oh my gosh, that is me to the truth. When I did my 75 hard last year for like it was probably the second time. It was right after I just finished talking to somebody. She completely ghosted me, and I was like, "What the hell?" And then while I'm doing my outside walks for the outside part of 75 hard, some of the best conversations I ever had. I'm more going like, all right, here's the facts. We got this going on. We got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's the evidence right here. I'm scrolling
Yeah.
through team shots, going through the receipts and everything. And I'm even talking to myself. I'm like, all right, if I was talking to this dude, he's not available. What would he say? Oh, yeah, he's going to say this. All right, he's probably going to say this. I feel the same way too. Done. She messed up. I'm the guy.
Look, I heard no negative self-talk in that. That was good.
Oh yeah, no. I should have mentioned earlier, and Aaron, I apologize for saying what I said earlier. I should have meant we are two thick boys. Thick boys.
Well, two C's. Two C's.
Yes, two C's. And I
That's
say that
hilarious.
because damn, ever since I started doing squats, I'm looking immaculate.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, I love how much he loves himself.
I do
I love it.
too.
I love it.
Goals.
Love it.
Goals.
Like, give me a
You
little
get
bit of
it, boy.
that.
Right?
Yes, bro. Oh my gosh. When you see the gains in the gym, it is fantastic. And then
Amen.
when I'm over at the beach and I get a tan, I'm over here glistening like an Aztec god with all my brown skin. I'm like, yes.
Hey, dude, I get it, man. I'd look at myself like in a like reflection of a car or a fucking a store window or whatever. I'm just like, I like stop and I do like a double take. I'm like, God damn,
Yes, bro. Like the
me, I
sexy
do me.
Squidward face. The sexy Squidward face. You over going
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Fancy
Oh,
Squidward.
yeah.
This is why.
yeah.
This is why they had nothing to say about
Mhm.
negative self-talk.
They're like,
This
never
right
happened to
here.
me.
oh,
They're
yeah,
like,
no.
what negative self-talk? What are you talking about?
It's
Your
hilarious.
well, I
voice in
think
my
that-
head is very nice.
I think we
Mhm.
all do it though. I mean, it may not be out loud, but internally for sure. I mean, I know I do, like in my head. when I'm having just to myself and I'm listening like on walks or if I'm listening to like my book or a podcast or something, I'm just going over that and just thinking to myself, okay, well, he said this. This is now okay. Let me go back and try to see if I can kind of reflect from that or see if there's something that is similar that I've done. And then I think about that. I'm like, okay, but it's all in my head. I'll say it out loud because I look like a fucking crazy person. But
Hey,
I mean, more power to you.
hey.
Hey,
I would say you're a
and
very,
this and
very,
this is inner
very thoughtful
dialogue.
person.
I would take it a step further and say that just, at least in my case, and maybe Aaron, you can probably relate to this, and also a couple other people, especially me when I was younger, how I mentioned how
Talking
I've
about me,
always
Danny.
talked to myself, how you're very negative at first. And I think what I noticed, and especially with past conversations that I've had with different people, whenever you start talking to yourself and you start developing that habit, it's always going to be very, very negative no matter what. Because you're probably going to start comparing to where it's like, oh my goodness, like so and so has a boyfriend, so and so has a girlfriend, so and so has a car, so and so this, that, whatever. And I'm saying this like through the high school experience. Later on, then as we get older, that's when it's to the point to where, you know what, it's not too shabby. And honestly, so and so, all right, they got what they got going on. I got what I got going on, but I'm starting to change. So kind of like almost to a puberty thing. But instead of it being to where, oh, we're aging, we're now getting more positive for ourselves. And instead of you looking in the mirror to where it's like, oh, it's going to be a shitty day today. Oh, my sweet baby Jesus, it's going to be rough. I don't want to deal with this manager. She's on my ass like white on rice. Now it's more like, no matter what she says, I am feeling fantastic. And I'm going to have me some chicken noodle soup later today. Man, I'm over here still getting these gains in the gym. It just, the same energy that I had negatively, I flip it towards more positive, and it works out amazingly. Because now I'm not dreading the day. I'm just waking up. I'm like, hello,
You're
world.
creating your reality. This is amazing.
Yes. Future billionaire right here,
Exactly.
ladies and gentlemen. Future billionaire.
Exactly. Wayne Dyer talks about that. He has like a whole monologue that he does about the way people like make themselves sick. You know, they'll be like, oh, here we go. I already got it in my nose. Tomorrow's going to be in my throat. And then before you know it, I'm going to have to call out on Thursday because, you know, I'm going to be sick all day, you know, and then you just manifest this sickness instead of being like, I got this. My body is magical. It is going to heal itself. I am not getting sick. I don't know what they got going on over there, but that does not affect me. And it's the same thing as like waking up in the morning, like, ugh, I'm so tired. It's going to be such a rough day. Or, you know, the one that we all do, which is like, okay, if I go to bed right now, that means I'm going to have 3 hours of sleep, which means by the time I get up, I'm going to be exhausted. And then you look back at your watch, you're like, shoot, I have 2 hours of sleep and I'm just going to be a zombie. And now you're just manifesting this whole thing instead of saying like, okay, I didn't get 100% sleep, but it's going to be like basically like a nap. So I'm just going to get up, I'm going to rock the day and like change the way you speak to yourself instead of creating this reality of like, it's going to be a miserable day. It's like all of these negative things that you're already just projecting out into the day that hasn't even begun yet. And so I love that, Danny. That's exactly that reframing that needs to happen.
Mm, yeah, it's amazing. Shirag, good to see you. Long time no see. Look at him with the plain
Oh,
background.
It's been a minute, but it's been all progress. Manifesting the plane piece of it soon
I
to
love
be.
it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's been good. The inner dialogue it's been a great thing to really tap into. So very similar to what I came into is that most of my life until I came into sub two, and again, my process into sub two was a very rough and dark one. The reason I'm writing my book as well, but getting into it, the inner dialogue was always before that was like, man, I'm not good enough, right? That's what I came down to, or I can't do this or I can't do that. And it was just self-sabotaging. But it was so evident. It was so easy to recognize it, but I was like, kept doing it, kept doing it. Well, part of my story is like I went in, some of you guys know, but I had a mental breakdown like 2023 and I was hospitalized for it. But men's mental health, I think we maybe talked about it a little bit in the last one, but it just became a pivotal moment for me. So most of you guys met me after that moment, but hence the reason why I'm writing about it is because not many men can talk about those things. And I definitely didn't. I kept suppressing it. So that was more of my inner dialogue that just kept telling me, like, I'm okay with this. I can push this aside and fell off the wagon and started drinking again, low key drinking. And I was like, no, I can handle this. I'm going to be good. I can drink another shot and I'll be fine. And I was functioning day to day, like drinking, and it was just horrible. Then came out of it and I was like, my inner dialogue started going spiritual and realizing that, hey, like I've been a man, I'm Hindu, so I've been a man of God and believing that there's always something bigger, and then connecting to spirituality and energy and realizing that we're all just vibrations of energy at its most simplest form we can handle. So now diving into that, getting into like all brain waves, understanding, you guys have heard of the 7-second Tesla ritual, Nikolai Tesla's ritual about how a 7-second manifestation where you set your intention within 3 to 4 seconds, you have an affirmation and then you do a gratitude, but you do it a certain number of times. It wires your inner thoughts to now believe that this is the affirmation. And then you take the steps just like manifestation to get to that, but you do it 3 times a day. And I've just started it 3 days ago, but it's worked because the conversation, the meetings we've had in the last couple of days have been ridiculous. I mean, hence the reason for the plane is because I'm getting my pilot's license and we're investing in planes this coming week because we have a plane broker. And we met with a guy who's building 400 container homes in the same city that I am and same thing I'm doing. And I'm like, great, let's partner up. He's like, great. He's getting his pilot's license. I'm like, how would this have all happened if my inner dialogue wasn't telling myself to, you're going to meet these people. They're just there. You're just going to happen to exudate the energy. Like it's just going to, but before I would be like, how am I going to meet these people? I need to find a way to get to this person who's going to help me in the planning department. And, like, how am I going to get this code for this new product that I'm trying to put out there? Well, turn it around, flipped it around, and turned it's like, no, they're there. They're just waiting to meet me. I just have to put myself in the circles and in the right doors and pick up my phone and see does anybody know this person? So that inner dialogue helped me a lot. Daily, I'm like having this conversation with myself about what does it look like? What does tomorrow look like? What does it look like when this all does come to fruition? So I can see myself shaking the hand of a business partner last night through a meditation. It happened today. It came to life because we made it happen because we saw it. So it's been really great because it's catapulted us into different industries. I mean, we're in biotech now through USF and Alzheimer's research. Who would have figured? But I have Alzheimer's in my genetics, in my DNA, but somehow makes its way back to real estate because to get to the facility, to be able to now have a clinical research facility, now to be able to find a place to house that, then you're talking. So all of it comes back to what we've already been doing, but now it's another industry to get into. I would have never thought of how am I going to help cure an illness that I might face in 20 years. Well, now I have some of the top research scientists in the world that have, it's funny, their most potent therapy for Alzheimer's right now is cannabis. And I have world-round research that proves to it. And this research scientist said, grow any weed you want, send it to me and I'll test it for you. I'm like, great, you have a DEA license. Great, I'm going to go grow now. I mean, it's like, now we have an outlet. It's not just growing for it's for Alzheimer's research and Parkinson's research. So how do you go against it? And now all my old connects that used to grow top end cannabis for the black market, now we can make them like completely legal. Like here's a research that you could put your skills to use. I mean, my inner dialogue would have never got me to that. But now I'm in an emerging industry of biotech, which is leading the charge in a lot of these industries that we look at, right? The next revolution that we're facing is AI, 3D printing, biotech, fintech, all these things that are in the front. But when you look at the .com boom, we were kids when that happened. And we look back and like, only if I would have had a website when it first came up, or only if I would have seen, like, so we're seeing those industries evolve right now. And it's crazy because Cody Sanchez talks about that $10 trillion business, wealth transfer. Well, on the other side of it, there's all these other revolutions that are happening. So I wouldn't have seen this. My inner dialogue would have kept me focused on, I need to work a 9 to 5. I need to make sure I'm climbing the corporate ladder, broke that mold because I realized what corporate was doing to me. And now constant inner dialogue is like, how do we get a piece of it? Like, how do we make this and turn that into a value where we can teach people that aren't on these Zoom calls, that want to be on these Zoom calls, but can't afford to be on the Zoom calls? Well, here, follow this process. So that's where my inner dialogue's been taking me, is just put the value out there for people to find, like, nothing in it for me, but hey, at the end of the day, it's going to come back tenfold. So that's my inner dialogue for y'all. I'll leave it at that.
Nice. That's a lot of stuff going on. But I think just like we were saying before, you're creating that reality because even before this whole thing was even like the pilot license and all that, you were just opening that door and said that I'm manifesting this, and that's what you're doing. So it's cool to see that. And that's just a testament for everybody. Like literally what you speak, you're speaking into existence. So be mindful of the things that you're saying or what you're putting out there because you can speak good or you can speak evil. I was reading the Four Agreements, and I think that was where
It's a
they
great
talk
book.
about like your words they can be black magic or white magic. And you don't really think about that unless you're consciously told, like, hey, your words cast spells. Like there's things you're putting out into the universe, things that you're, like you said, the energy and how we're all connected and like the way that you're going about like And that's why I feel so passionate about the mindset stuff, because a majority of people, we're not taught to know these things, to think that, to know that we can create our realities. We're taught to not think for ourselves, to be small, to not take risks, to not, when there's literally no reason for you not to. Like, what's the worst case scenario, right? Because even they talk about like the difference between the people that are successful and not are just the people that are resilient, that are like, hey, even if this doesn't work out, I'm gonna keep trying. And because I can't, like, I'm not gonna give up, I literally can't fail.
Right.
What do you guys know Thomas Edison for?
The light bulb.
Do you know how many patents he had that were significant? But what do we know him for?
Right.
The one 18 I think 1800, something crazy, right? Yes, it's resilience. It's the idea of knowing that what I'm putting out there, if you test it enough, and I surround myself with devil's advocates, like literally everybody around me, poke holes in everything I'm doing, because once you can't poke holes anymore, I'm good. I'm set. So yes, failing forward is the only way. And knowing that inner dialogue, that I'm anticipating that, great. I can catch myself before I actually hit the spikes at the next time, right? So it's you're right. The inner dialogue is huge, and it's really easy because when you're winning, you're winning. Inner dialogue is great, but we thank God for all the great stuff. We don't thank God or thank the energy in the world for all the trials and tribulations we're getting put through to become stronger at the end of it. Because what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And once that inner dialogue can accept it, I'm ready. I'm like, it was crazy because the end of 2024, I anticipated on my birthday, November 29th, I felt it. I was like, the next month and a half to 2 months, I'm going to get every single thing coming my way, shooting at me, like the more challenges, because it's coming to a year. Because 2025, I don't know if you guys know, but if you look into numerology, this is a spiritual awakening year. So 2025, when you break it to numerology, it turns out to a 9, right? You add up all the digits. So when you look into like numerology, it talks about this is a year of spiritual awakening where people are starting to understand that there's something more resonating back there. So that really has driven a lot of what I'm doing, and it's gotten me to know that I got those challenges and I knew they were coming. I overcame them and I anticipated them. I took the hit, like it was like knowing I'm putting a bulletproof vest on, knowing I'm gonna get a couple of slugs, but I know I'm gonna survive it, right? And that's what happened, and it set me up into 2025 where I bought a piece of land, a 2-acre piece of land through a land banker. I called the owner of that land. He owned it for 120 years before he sold it to me. He owns 2,000 acres up the road, and we started talking about grazing like cattle out of the blue, and we're doing regenerative agriculture because he needs that to improve his land. I mean, who would have thought that conversation would have came up out of me wanting to do 30 tiny homes, right? Like now we've got access to all this land. Conversation now, inner dialogues, like I was meant to meet this guy. It was just a matter of time before our futures are there. It's just a matter of time. If we can start visualizing it, it's just speeding it up to our current reality. That's what I've learned through manifestation and law of attraction over the times I've been practicing it for the last year. It's literally us seeing what's coming and just accelerating it towards our current present. So, but yeah, I'll stop there now and I'll let you guys continue.
I love it. That's awesome. No, I appreciate the input. I know we're getting close to the end, so I want to start getting us towards the meditation. And I know, Raymond, you look like you're working busy over there, but I would like to hear how things are going. I know you're in California. I don't know how close to LA you are.
Oh no, I'm up north more towards Sacramento, so I'm not
Okay,
affected by the fires yet or at
nice.
all. So things are okay. I'm on month 2 of wholesaling. I signed 2 purchase agreements, but I'm having trouble finding a buyer. But it's only a week. It's not. It's only 3 days into it, so that's where my mind plays like the pro and the con thing. So I had 2 guys. They were like, we don't like it. And then now my mind starts playing tricks on me, like, oh, this is not going to happen. I'm like, wait a minute, chill out. It's only a little, you got plenty of time. Just keep going, stay consistent, just keep going. Don't worry about it. Everything will work out. Even if it doesn't, I don't, so let's say nothing happens, but stay consistent. And that's my whole thing is I just need
Celebrate
to
the small
stay
wins too,
consistent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
because
I'm like,
not a
okay,
lot of
I never
people
got,
get purchase and sale agreements signed within their first 2 months. So
and
that's
that's what I
something
told myself.
Mhm.
I was like, look, this is the farthest I gotten. So chill out.
Yeah.
I'll
Absolutely.
tell myself that a
And
lot.
you're
Like,
only
'cause-
going to learn, right? You're going to
Mhm.
figure out like what the people in your market want, what they don't want, what sells easily. Next time you're going to get it at a lower price. Like you're going to recognize like as much as I want to give you that, I know I can't because nobody wants it. And so there's no point in me playing with you. Not that you're playing with people, but you know what I mean? There's no
Yeah.
point in me like even getting you to write this down because I know no one out here is going to buy it. But you have to learn that. Like you don't know that off the bat. Like, you think like this is a good deal. I ran my numbers. Like there's no reason somebody's not going to want this until you talk to somebody who would want it. And they're like, yeah, but I got to add this, this, and this. And you're like, oh, okay. I didn't know that because that's not what
Yep.
I do.
And that's why, and I'm learning. So I'm like, all right, you know what? No big deal. I'm learning. I never gotten this far. So just stay at it. Just stay at it. It's all
Mhm.
good. It's all good.
Yeah, yeah.
Are they
Do
cash
you have
deals?
a
Yeah.
I'm over here like, how do we get you to get this deal? Like, do you
I
know a
gotta,
realtor? Like, worst
I,
case,
I,
can you list it on
I
the
already
market?
I already messaged them. Like, send the details over because
yeah.
where are they
Yeah,
at?
deals are deals.
Where-
People need them.
Yeah.
Hey, as long as if the numbers number, it can. We actually started multiple exit strategies through affordable housing. So there's a lot of ways to create exits that aren't necessarily the traditional exits that we find with investors. Like I'll give you an example. In Florida, we found a way to cash flow on homeless shelters. So there's ways to do it through government money. That way, like exit strategy you would never imagine that exist. We found them here, and I'll give you the example. So we work with the local homeless coalition. We're turning a house into a co-living, and we're now housing homeless veterans within that house. And DCF is starting to pay us back reimbursement. So it gives us an opportunity to put a little bit of money as a cash flow, but now we're fully funding that entire house, and they just need whatever the debt service is. Even if it's at a 7% interest rate, we can cover it because they're reimbursing us. So I'm saying there's exit strategies all over. You just got to be able to see where they're at and then know who's working and what. We don't do anything non-affordable housing right now. If we're buying houses right now, we're closing on a marketing office in St. Pete, but it's a fix and flip that we found to be more valuable because we have now services that we're marketing, our fractional jet ownership, our AI, wholesale, and a few things. So we found it to be a more lucrative investment for us to turn it into a marketing office versus like flipping it.
Sweet. Wow. Wow. Crazy. Even what you were saying, last year, 2024 was a really hard year, even just for my regular job, because I'm an independent contractor for a cabinet company. It was really slow. And for some reason, I had this feeling like 2025 is the year is going to be a prosperous year.
I don't mean to stop you. You said independent cabinet company?
I'm an independent contractor, so I do the project management and I do sales for a cabinet company. We do all commercial. We usually do a lot of dental and medical cabinets, but we could do any commercial. But we don't do any residential though.
The reason I brought that up is because we import cabinets from Vietnam into Georgia right now. We need people to help us distribute if we're not using it in-house, but we have one of my old bosses from this company. He started importing from Vietnam. Cabinets have huge markup, like ridiculous markup, right? So it's like, hey, there's another opportunity. So just having these conversations, like you never know who you're going to be able to communicate with and who you can connect. My entire life I've been a connector. I just didn't realize it until Jackie showed me how. Like, it's like I didn't know I could monetize that, but I never monetized being able to connect people. And I figured, hey, at the end of the day, if we do something out of it, great, I'll benefit. But if I can connect you two and it doesn't work out, hey, at least you can find a way to maybe buy it wholesale and resell it. I don't know, but that's something I can connect you with.
Yeah, you guys are gonna have to take this offline.
Yeah,
and
sorry.
I'm just saying, keep getting to know each other because there's definitely some stuff that can go on over here. So yeah, that's the important thing with networking and just putting yourself out there, and because you never know who you're gonna meet or run into or how you guys can work together. Literally, that's why I've always operated with the mentality of like, I'm never gonna write somebody off. Like people, they're very quick to judge and be like, oh, this person can't do anything for me. Unfortunately, that's how most people think. For me, I've always been like, I just want to get to know this person because I know there's something. I might not know what it is, but we're going to connect somehow. And whatever connection it is, that's amazing. Like whether it's personal, business, whatever the case may be, but like the door should always be open because you just never know.
Oh, can I say one more thing, and I won't say any more after this? Is that no matter where you plant the seed and how much you nurture it to how quickly that tree is going to grow. So one thing, like I'll tell anybody this that asked me, like Jackie was one of the first people I met, And she's one of the main reasons why I'm in sub 2 and with the communities, because she showed me what like authenticity is when it comes to connecting. We haven't done a deal together. We haven't done anything. She's connected me with people that I've connected with that I haven't done anything, but I know that she's gonna get recognition because she introduced me. So just make sure you continue to nurture those trees. I'm done.
Nice.
But yeah, thank you for coming on tonight. It was good seeing you. Raymond, I hope you can make it. I know it's probably a weird time difference for you hopping on so
Right in
early.
Cali.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun.
Okay, cool.
And I wanted to say, like, if you're not on the Facebook group, like, get into the Facebook group and like bring your problems. Like, you never know who might have an idea or a connection or someone who's buying exactly what you have in your space. So if you're running into, I don't know if I can get this deal moved, you don't have to give details if you're, worried about addresses and things like that, but just say like, hey, I got this deal. I think this is what it's worth. Check it out. Let me know what you guys think if you have any ideas. And then, it's not that huge of a group where you have to worry too much, and hopefully no one in there has got bad intentions. But yeah,
If they do, that's bad karma for them. I mean, I'm just saying,
exactly.
like, you know,
Exactly.
that's not.
But there a lot of us are in there.
That's not my responsibility. So
Amen,
I'll
sir.
let
Amen.
God take care of that.
Exactly. That's
Yeah, I
not
think
for you
everyone
to
in
worry
here
about.
is in the group, but I did put the link in the chat if anyone isn't. But yeah, Monica, you ready for a meditation?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, let me share my sound. Let's do it.
Okay, so everybody get comfortable. Close your eyes. We're going to take 5 deep breaths in through our nose, filling up your belly, then your lungs, and then slowly exhale through your nose. And with each exhale, feel your body soften, your shoulders drop, your jaw unclench. Feel your brows smooth out. Your forehead is relaxed. With each breath, just pulling up anything that is causing tension, feeling stuck, and exhale it, gone. Release. One more deep inhale. And I want to bring our attention inward. Think about some recent inner dialogue that you've had. And imagine each thought as a cloud in the sky. Each thought its own cloud. And just observing the thoughts that maybe limit ourselves, speak negatively to ourselves. deny our abilities, criticize our efforts, overanalyze the things that we said, things that we didn't say. Just watch them pass by. As you see each cloud, don't hold on to it. Don't try to grab it and think about it some more. Just allow it to go by. Maybe you want to thank it for its wisdom. I believe each of our thoughts are trying to be helpful, trying to keep us in line, trying to keep us safe. But often they're outdated, they're old ways of thinking, limiting ways of thinking. And they no longer align with the level that we're at, the goals that we have, the choices that we're making. And so we say thank you. Or maybe we say no thank you. And instead we want to invite affirming thoughts. Thoughts that will move us forward towards our dream, towards our goals, towards our highest self. Thoughts like, I am an infinite being with infinite possibilities. Each day, I move closer to my higher self. I deserve grace as I navigate this thing called life. I am doing my best each day. I believe in my infinite potential. I am capable of great things. Whichever of those resonated the most with you, imagine it in a cloud, passing by. And as you imagine each of these empowering thoughts, I want you to pay attention to your body and your breath. Do you feel yourself getting lighter? Maybe there's a small smile across your face. I want you to breathe into this feeling Breathe into the feeling of knowing that you are capable, that your potential is infinite. Each time that you choose one of these thoughts over one of the limiting thoughts, you're reprogramming your mind. You are showing your mind that you are capable of change. That changing is not scary. Take a deep breath. Thank yourself for all the ways that you've already made positive changes in your life. Imagine you're looking at yourself in the mirror. Smile and say thank you. Thank you for each step that we take towards our higher selves, towards our destiny. I hope you each know how much we appreciate you being on these calls with us and sharing your energy. Participating in this community that we're building. You are appreciated. Let's take 3 deep breaths. With each breath, feeling that appreciation, that sense of belonging, that sense of community. And as we end this call, I want to say thank you. The light in me sees and recognizes the light in each of you. Namaste. Take one more deep breath and start to stretch. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Slowly come back and join us in the room.
That was good. Oof, I feel great.
Right?
How you
Me too.
feeling, Colton? Yeah, he looks refreshed.
We'll take the thumbs up.
But yeah, guys, this call was good. I'm looking forward to next week for sure, just as like a follow-up to the foundation and everything that we started here, just to carry that through. And I appreciate you guys so much. I know we ran over a little bit this time, but glad you guys are able to make it to the end. And yeah,
Yeah.
you know how to find us. We're in the Facebook group. Feel free to reach out to either one of us anytime. You guys finish out the week strong.
Absolutely. And let us know if you guys are, have any amazing mental diet things that you're listening to, audiobooks or books that you're reading or podcasts, like anything that's been like feeding you lately, positive growth mindset stuff. I'm always down for something new.
All right, guys, you have a great rest of your night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye. Good night,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
later.